You know that feeling, right? That frustrating moment when you realize your car's gas mileage has just fallen off a cliff. You fill up the tank and it feels like that needle drops faster every single week. We've all been there. And you start to wonder, is it my driving? Is it the traffic? But what if I told you the real problem was something much smaller and much sneakier, hiding right under your hood? Exactly. Your commute is the same, your driving style hasn't changed one bit, but you're getting to know the folks at the gas station on a first-name basis. Well, the mystery isn't how you drive. It's about what your engine is being told to do. The truth is, the problem usually comes down to a few small, unassuming parts that are failing silently, without any big, obvious warning signs. These are what I call the silent thieves. They're these little sensors that are supposed to be the eyes and ears of your engine's computer. But when they get dirty or start to fail, they feed the computer bad information. And that throws off the whole delicate balance, forcing your engine to burn way more fuel than it needs to. So today we're going to unmask the 5 biggest offenders. I'll show you how they work, what goes wrong, and, most importantly, how a little bit of cleaning can put hundreds of dollars back in your pocket. Let's start the countdown. All right, kicking off our list at number 5 is a sensor that can basically lie to your engine. It tricks it into thinking it's a freezing cold winter morning, even on the hottest day of summer. We call this one the cold engine lie. So this is the engine coolant temperature sensor, or ECT for short, and it's really just a fancy thermometer for your car's computer. Its job is super simple. When the engine is cold, it tells the computer, hey, we need a rich fuel mixture to get this thing warmed up, kind of like pulling the choke on an old lawnmower. Then, as the engine gets to the right temperature, it signals the computer to lean that mixture out for the best possible fuel economy. So what happens when this little guy fails? Well, a lot of the time, it gets stuck sending a cold signal. Permanently. The computer, doing what it's told, just keeps dumping in extra fuel, thinking the engine never, ever warms up. That's the lie, and you'll feel it. You'll get a rough idle, you might even see some black smoke from the tailpipe. That's just raw, unburned fuel, and your car will feel sluggish. The bottom line, this one little sensor lying to your engine can tank your fuel economy by over 20%. And this is where it gets interesting. Here's the choice you have. A lot of the time, these sensors are just dirty. A can of contact cleaner is about 15 bucks. A new sensor? That could run you anywhere from $120 to $250. But ignoring it, that's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds in wasted gas. The math is pretty simple on this one. Okay, let's move on to our next thief. Coming in at number 4, we have a sensor that, when it gets dirty, is like making your engine try to run a marathon while breathing through a straw. It just can't get a good breath of air, and everything starts to go wrong. This is the problem of choked airflow. This is the mass airflow sensor, or MAF. You can literally think of it as the engine's nose. Its whole job is to measure the precise amount of air coming into the engine. See, for a perfect combustion, you need about 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel. The MAF sensor has this tiny, super delicate hot wire inside, and by measuring how much electricity it takes to keep that wire hot as air rushes past, it tells the computer exactly how much fuel to add. Now, the problem with the MAF sensor usually isn't that it breaks, it's that it gets dirty. Over time, tiny bits of dust and oil can bake onto that delicate little wire, and when that happens, it can no longer measure the air correctly. So the computer gets bad data, and it just starts guessing how much fuel to add. And you know what? Computers are terrible guessers. You'll feel it as a lazy engine that hesitates or jerks when you step on the gas, and that dirty sensor can slash your fuel efficiency by up to 20%. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Cleaning a MAF sensor is super easy, but you have to use a cleaner made specifically for it. It costs about 15 bucks. If you try to use something like brake cleaner, you will destroy it instantly. And a new sensor, we're talking anywhere from $240 to almost $700. So yeah, a few minutes and the right can of spray can literally save you a small fortune. All right, at number 3, we have a sensor that is all about communication. It's the direct link between your right foot and the engine's brain. And when that line of communication goes bad, you get what we call a faulty command. And that leads to confusion, chaos, and a whole lot of wasted gas. Meet the throttle position sensor, or TPS. I love this analogy. It's the microphone for your gas pedal. Every single time you press down on the accelerator, the TPS translates that physical movement into an electrical signal for the computer. You know, a light touch sends a low voltage signal, and when you floor it, it sends a high voltage signal. This is absolutely critical. It tells the engine how much power you're asking for. When this sensor gets dirty, that microphone starts sending static. The computer gets these confusing, erratic signals and has no idea what you want. And that causes some really noticeable and honestly dangerous problems. We're talking jerky acceleration, hesitation when you're trying to merge, and sometimes even random stalling. Because the computer is so confused, it just defaults to a rich, gas-guzzling mixture to be safe, which can burn up to 30% more fuel. But often, the fix is a simple cleaning which brings back that smooth response and puts that cash right back in your wallet. Okay, we have arrived at the two biggest offenders, the heavy hitters. When these next two sensors fail, the hit to your wallet is immediate, it is severe, and it can even lead to repair bills in the thousands. Let's get to number two. Taking the silver medal for silent fuel theft is the fuel rail pressure sensor. This thing is especially important in modern engines, where fuel is injected under incredibly high pressure. Here, precision is everything. So think of this sensor as the guardian of your fuel system's pressure. It sits there on the fuel rail, constantly monitoring the pressure and telling the computer if it's too high or too low. This is what allows the fuel injectors to spray a perfect, fine, atomized mist of fuel. If that pressure is off, even by a little bit, the whole system just goes haywire. So what happens is a really nasty chain reaction. If the sensor reports low pressure, the computer might overwork the fuel pump to death trying to compensate. If it gets it wrong the other way, you can get misfires, hesitation, a hard time starting, and the absolute worst-case scenario is when it causes the injectors to dump way too much fuel, literally flooding the engine with raw gasoline. Not only does that waste a ton of gas, but it can completely destroy your catalytic converter, and that's a repair that easily gets into four figures. And now for it. We've reached the top of our list, the number one silent fuel thief, the single sensor that when it goes bad has the most devastating impact on your gas mileage and ultimately on your bank account. And the numbers, it's just staggering. 40%. Just let that sink in for a second. We are talking about a potential loss in fuel efficiency of 40% from one single sensor. That's like turning your 30-mile-per-gallon car into an 18-mile-per-gallon gas guzzler, practically overnight. And the culprit responsible for that insane number is the oxygen sensor, or O2 sensor. This is your engine's own personal exhaust gas analyst. It sits in your exhaust pipe, and its only job is to sniff the exhaust and see how much unburned oxygen is left over. It then sends that information back to the computer in a constant feedback loop so the computer can make tiny, constant adjustments to keep the air-fuel mixture absolutely perfect. So when an O2 sensor gets old and coated in gunk, it gets lazy. It sends slow, inaccurate information, and the computer loses its ability to make those fine adjustments. So what does it do? To protect the engine, it defaults to a safe mode, which is a super rich fuel mixture. It just starts dumping fuel. And that's where you get that insane 40% drop in mileage, the black smoke, the strong smell of gas, and a huge drop in power. And even worse, all that unburned fuel goes straight into your catalytic converter, superheating it and melting it from the inside out, a repair that can easily cost thousands. Phew! Okay, so we've unmasked the 5 biggest silent thieves hiding in your engine bay. But look, this isn't about making you paranoid about your car, it's about empowerment. Knowing who the bad guys are is step 1. Step 2 is realizing you can fight back and get your payback at the pump. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that modern fuel efficiency is all about electronic balance. These sensors are your engine's senses. When they're clean and working right, your engine is happy and efficient. This means preventative cleaning is your absolute best weapon. A $10 or $15 can of the right cleaner can genuinely save you hundreds, if not thousands, in both wasted fuel and repairs you didn't have to make. You are not helpless here. You have the power to make sure your car runs the way it was designed to. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Next time you're out driving, just pay attention. How does your car feel? Is it a little lazy on acceleration? Is the idle a little off? Are you just at the gas station way more than you used to be? Just ask yourself, which of these silent thieves might be hiding in my engine right now? Thanks for watching.